Hey everybody, it's Peggy. I'm back with another video, and today's just chatting. I'm just chatting today. I'm working on something. I'll show you what I'm working on. I did a couple of little sample pieces already to see what I think of it. I'm making a quilt. I've decided to torture myself by making a quilt. Basically is what's going on. So what is going on here is that, hey, is that still 6 inches? Let me just stop and check something for a minute. I did the dumb. Oh, I really needed to think this through. So basically, let me just give you guys vertigos for a second. Here is, come on, cooperate. There's my scrap bucket. I did not think this through. Okay, so what I've decided to do is make a quilt. I knew I was going to be making another quilt because I want to quilt. I like having a quilt project kind of sort of on the go, on my mind or whatever, because it's a great way to use up scrap, yada, yada, yada. You guys know the drill. So what I'm doing, and I don't know how to explain this properly, so I'm just going to get out my pen. When I get out my pen, I'm going to scribble some stuff. Okay. So the quilt I'm making is going to be, now it might be 60 by 60. I haven't decided yet. This quilt design, I stumbled across this while I was just randomly watching some sewing videos and stuff. Because I look at quilt videos and I go, hey, I look at quilt videos and go, wow, I'm jealous. I could never do it that good. But then I look at other videos and I go, hey, I could probably do that. So what I realize is, hey, I can probably do this. So what this is you start with your quilt. Okay. And so far, this is going to be 60 by 70. So that's approximately in keeping with a twin size blanket. I think a twin size blanket is like 64 by 76. It's got some weird things. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these. So 60 inches, that's 5 feet. Okay. Just keep this in mind. Math is going to get painful. I'm going to do 6-inch strips. Now this is about 7 inches. That way if I'm a little wonky, and then I can just even everything up when I'm done. Instead of trying to do it perfect. I'll try and do it as perfectly as I can as I go. But that way when I'm done, I'll just, it's called, they square it up, right? I'm going to have to square it up anyway, so I'm doing 7-inch strips to give myself a safety margin. And then so these are going to go randomly. So I haven't decided where they're going to be yet. So I might have one going here. I might have another one going here, another one going here, and maybe another one going here, like that. I don't know for sure what they're going to look like yet. I might have a lot of them. I might stop at just 2, right? So everything else is all one color. All the space here. So let's get some color here. All one color. This is a great project. This is going to be a great project. So all that is going to be black, purple, and blue. And it's going to be like this. Black, purple, and blue. Just random, okay? Now, the other quilt that I did, the junk quilt that I did, I literally managed to get every single square to be a different color. That's not going to happen here. Because these strips, this is as wide as they're going to be. They're not going to be any wider than this. Like before I sew anything onto this, I'm trimming it down. I'm trimming this one down. I did a couple of samples. I did these as samples to see what I was thinking of the idea, right? Now it's going to be black, purple, and blue, and every now and again I may throw in a bright something, okay? But it's going to be like this. It's going to go for the entire blanket in strips, and this is 5 feet wide. So if I go 4 feet and I'm sewing this anywhere from 1 to 2 inches at a time, this is going to use up a lot of fabric, which is great. Like look at the back. The back's already a mess, right? This is going to use up a lot of fabric. So this is going to go through my fabric bin. My big mistake is that I never sorted my freaking bin. I sew for a living. I get working. I just throw it in a bin. I just throw it in the bin. What started this whole project was when I looked over like yesterday, because I've been talking. I even talked on the last couple of my videos how I plan on doing a quilt soon, right? Well, I look over. This thing has like this big pile has started to come over, and now it's halfway on the floor. I'm pointing at it, and you guys can't even see it. It's not even on camera right now. But yeah, I come over, it's on the floor. And the first thing that happens in my house, as soon as this hits the floor, the dogs, because we've got the 2 dogs, they don't touch any of this stuff. But as soon as it's on the floor, it's theirs. They think it's theirs. And they start trying to make little piles and shit out of it. And it's like, oh God, I have to either bag it up and throw it away or make something out of it. I have to sort it. I mean, and maybe some of this stuff maybe some of these stuff, I mean, this is a fairly decent sized piece. Maybe it got in there by accident and it would make a good backing for something in the shop. I don't know. So some stuff might be going back into the sew it up to sell it pile, but I can't do that. Once my dogs get into it, I can't do it. Because, I mean, I'm not selling something that's had an unwashed dog butt parked on it, right? Well, washed, we do bathe the dogs, but you know what I mean. So I have to sort this anyway. So I'm going to sort out and start prepping for my next quilt. And where'd my paper go? So that's what my next quilt's going to be. Okay. Now, doing this is actually going to be a nice little summer project, warm weather. This corner that I work from gets pretty hot. We don't have it. Well, we do have air conditioning. It's just not hooked up yet. So this is a project that I can do on a day where I don't want to do anything else. Like, I'll just start sewing those strips together, right? But they're going to be narrow. I'm sewing narrow strips. So this is going to take a while. Like, I mean, I'm sewing strips that are only that wide. As long as they're at least 6 inches long. And what I'm also doing is giving myself space and permission. Now this is going to be a flexible project. I saw this and it's like, this is awesome. And this is awesome for a whole lot of reasons. This is awesome because if I get everything all set up and ready to go to make my quilt, if I decide that these are too wide and look too blocky and I don't like the way they look, I can cut them in half. I can trim them down to like 5 inches, 4 inches, do whatever I want. So this is still going to be it's a super beginner friendly project so far. Make the strips. Just make the strips. So the only trick that you have to remember, if you're going, hey, I like this idea and I'm going to sew along at home, just try to pick a bottom. Try to pick one side has to be your bottom so that everything, when you sew it, you line it up with the bottom. Because when you come back, if you've not paid attention and stuff is offset, you may have to cut really drastically. You may have to cut really drastically into your piece just to make sure everything's like level and lined up again. So if I'm going to sew this to this, then I'm going to line this up here and I'm going to line this up because I can tell this is off center really badly on this side. I'm going to line this up with that as the bottom and then sew it. Okay. Now this one here, actually, let's just do that. Let's just do this. This one here actually isn't going to be this wide. I just slapped them together as a test. There's no point in pitching it because I've already put them together. And I'm going to cut, okay, I'm going to add a 1/4 inch. You guys can't even see it. I'm not going to shift the camera for this. I'm going to add a 1/4 inch because I know I'm going to add a 1/4 inch because I know I need my seam allowance for the next piece. So this is now 3/4 of an inch. After I sew it, it's going to be 1/2 inch. It's only going to be that wide, right? But now I've got this piece here that I already know is the right length. That's going to go in this pile. Anyway, my problem is I do not sort my fabric properly because I get on the roll with working and then forget to deal with the leftovers, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort this out. I'm basically going to go through all of this. I'm going to take all the purple, the blue, and the black out. Iron it all. That's going to be fucking hilariously fun for me. Well, that's black, but it's got a lot of white on it. I don't know if maybe I'll put it in there for now. I got a couple of these. As long as they're at least 6 inches long, I'll throw them in the pile. And then from there I have to sort out the pile, decide if I come across something that's like, okay, but I will tell you right now, if you have scrap and you are sorting out your scrap, sort your scrap out as you go, because I am now regretting life in general, okay? It's like, oh my God, what did I do to myself? So, yeah, see, that one can go in under the black, which will be nice. That's red. Oh, there's a blue. This got a lot of blue in it. So I can take that. Now, what I'm doing here, purple, black, and blue. There's a purple. Something else I'm doing, I'll flip you over to the camera, and I'll flip you over to the machine and we'll show you right quick. Something else that I'm doing is if a piece of fabric is at least 12 inches long, then what I can do is I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this the lazy way, because as long as you're doing it the lazy way, I'm going to do this the absolute lazy way, because I know this piece is at least, actually it's already lined up. Okay. Those pieces are still already lined up and don't need to be squared up. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do a little bit wider than normal. I'm going to make a seam in here. I've already got black thread. I'm doing black thread. So I'm going to come through, do. By the way, can I just point out that when you're sewing, keep your fingers ever so slightly bent, because if you're like that and touch this, you'll do this instead of going like that. Anyway, I'm saying it badly, but that's okay. I'm just going to go all the way down. Okay, all the way down. Over here, down you go. God, you guys must be so used to the vertigo by now. I should still be apologizing, but apparently. I'm just going to line up these two seams. Now, I'm not agonizing about perfectly straight. I'm not agonizing. This can be a little off or off, right? Always line. I gotta do it the right direction here. Always line this up along the folded side, because it'll be straighter when you're done. So I don't want these to be. I'm gonna go 1 1/4 inches. Okay. 1 1/4 inches, because then. Now I have 1 1/4 inches. So now these need to be 6 inches long, right? I've built in some wiggle room for myself. Don't throw that away. Put that over there. I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna line up my ruler along the stitch line. Square that up at the one end. Now I am not agonizing if these are a little tiny bit wonky, because that will add to the effect as we go along. So. Now, I need them to be 6 inches. I'm going to cut them at 7 inches. The reason why I'm cutting them at 7 inches is because that way I've got more wiggle room. As I'm working with scrap. I'm working one. I'm not cutting brand new fabric. This is fabric that's already scrap. So having to cut off an extra inch later isn't going to hurt my feelings. I've got this left over. I'm saving that because there's a because. So now I've got 2 pieces. Because like I said, I know I need at least like probably 10 feet of this, and I'm putting it together 1 inch at a time. This is going to be a lot of sewing, so what I'll do is take 2. I'm not going to sew these 2 together. I don't want it. I want it to stick with the color theme, but I don't want it to look like a pattern. I'm not going to sew I could sew these 2 together and make it 4, or I could sew this one. I could take this one and sew it to this one, and then take that one and sew it to the other one. I did it again. I set it down and now I can't find it. That's okay. It's in here somewhere. It didn't run away. Well, it did, but I'll find it. I think I set it on top of this stuff. Anyway, so how I'm going to sew that together, I haven't decided yet. Maybe I'll put the purple to the black. But like I said, this is the bottom, so I'm going to make sure that I choose a top, or I'm going to choose where my bottom is, and I'm going to make sure everything lines up with it, so that when I come back later. Because look at this, this is already not lined up. This is already not lined up. These are already sticking out the top. So I just add that to that. I do it. Now that one was the sloppy one to prep it to go. That was the sloppy one to prep it, right? So this one, now that it's been trimmed properly and opened up properly, it's going to have a proper 1/4 inch seam. So I can save a little time by doing that. It's okay if it's a little sloppy. Like I said, it's okay if this seam is a little sloppy as long as it's a good seam, and now I'm adding it to the existing thing. And there we go, right? And now I've got a bigger piece. Now I'm ready to go. And this is what I'm going to be doing for the whole thing. So I may have some smaller pieces that I'll just add in individually. I may have some bigger pieces that I'm going to prep. Get out of there. Don't go near it. And then I may have some bigger pieces that I'm going to prep. And find ways to find little ways. Like here's a couple of pieces right here that are really like they're long. So I might sew all 3 of these together and then trim them and then add it to the chain. So I'm probably going to come back with a little bit more videos with a little bit more videos. I'll be updating as I go. You guys will get to see this as it happens. It's not happening super fast. It's not going to be something that's, it's not, I'm not giving up. I'm not taking a week off to do it or anything like that because it's going to take time just to prep the fabric. But that's what's happening. That's what I've got going on today. It's a crappy day. I need a nap. You know how it is. It's a crappy day. You need a nap. What can I do that I don't have to concentrate too much on? Well, purple, blue, black. Purple, blue, black. Make a pile and then go iron it. I can do that today. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm making purple, blue, black, and I'm making it my life, and I'm doing whatever. And yeah, see, and then we're down to here like this. I don't know if you guys can still see this. We're down to this here. So I can add that if I want, making sure that that's the bottom, because this one's almost exactly 6 inches. I might actually not end up using this. I want to keep it a little bit longer. I want to be flexible. So this one will go. This one, as I go, once I get this done, then this is out of the way. Then that's out of the way. This pile over here is out of the way. So then, as I start making these pieces, I can just make a separate pile and yeah. So I've got to make about what, 4, 8. I've got to make at least 12 feet of this. It doesn't have to be all one chain because I'm not going to, because it's only going to be, the blanket is only 5 feet across. So I only have to make, the blanket is only 5 feet across. So I only have to make it in 5-foot sections at the most. But yeah, this is what I've done to myself. I will tell you, sort out your fabric as you go. Sort it out by color. If you have more than one type of fabric, sort it out by type. And I will say that those cheap little, the problem for me is that I get so much scrap that I haven't found a system that works for the amount of scrap I produce. But cheap little Tupperware containers, or those Glad, not disposable. You know the ones that they're light duty, so you wear them out really fast. Those ones, they make great containers for this stuff. Just fold it up neatly, put it in, put your bigger stuff at the back, your smaller stuff at the front, or whatever way works for you. And then you just got to go grab your purple, your blue, and your black, and you're done, and you're good to go. And I didn't do that, and now I have to sit here and sort fabric for the rest of my life. I also have to figure out something to do with my scrap. I'd love some feedback from you guys on this. I'm thinking about doing scrap packs because people do journaling, and I found out recently that people do journaling using scraps as small as 1 inch by 1 inch. So putting together a scrap pack of some kind would probably be a really good idea, and I'd probably just put them together for the cost of shipping. I don't think I would. I mean, I don't know. I don't think. I'm in Canada though, so that makes it not as easy, not as simple as it sounds. That's always been my biggest thing. I have no idea what it would look like. I would love some feedback. Do you want to see, if you were to buy a bag of scrap, would you want it organized by color, like blue, green, red, in like that? Would you want it in large quantities, small quantities? How would you guys like to see this? Because I don't know. I have no idea. This is something, like I said, I've had this, people have brought the idea to me a couple of times, but I just recently discovered just how tiny some of the pieces are that people actually want. And I'm not going to the store and buying a yard of fabric just to get a 1 inch square. But I'm happy to put a bunch of 1 inch squares in an envelope and send it on its way, right? So I have no idea what this could or should look like. I'd love, if anybody is into scrapbooking or into anything else that would use scrap, let me know. Give me some feedback on that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do with my scrap anymore. I can only make so many quilts, and I'm working. Like I said, I generate the scrap, and then I don't know what to do with it. Maybe there's a local community group where I could drop it off. I wonder, that's something else. Okay, so what should I do with my should I do with my scrap? And if people are interested in scrap packs, what would you want? How would that look for you? Anyway, I'm just going to leave that thought there. I have no idea if I'm even going to address this. I don't know what I am or am not going to do about that. I'm just and part of the reason for the conversation is that I recently had to throw away a bunch of scrap because it had been sitting around for so long, and The dog, like I said, the dogs get in. Once it hits the floor, the dogs try to start nesting and stuff in it. Well, I had a bunch of scraps sitting in the corner, and I looked over the one day and realized that the dogs had knocked it over. Somebody knocked it over, who the hell knows, and they turned it into a nest. Anyway, I'm not bitching, I'm not whining, I'm just stating reality. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt me when I have to throw it away, I just don't like doing it. So, it benefits me when I keep it and make it into a quilt, though. So we'll see how this quilt goes. I'll be checking in as this quilt progresses, but it is going to be it's probably a long-term project, because first I have to make 1 inch at a time, I have to make about 12 feet of this, and I have to sort it, iron it, cut it all up. There are some shortcuts, so maybe that's something to show on a day when I'm working with the shortcuts. That'll be a good time to come back for an update. But yeah, other than that, I've got a tote bag to make for you guys. I've got a tote bag to make. We just got busy and we're trying to decide what we want. It sounds weird. We're trying to decide what we want a tote bag to look like, because as much as I said I want it to be a basic bag just to haul around eggs and bread or a couple of little things in, I still want it to look nice. So I let Lisa decide, and she wants a tote bag around the size dimensions that I mentioned earlier, big enough to hold like your eggs and a loaf of bread, a little pocket just in case you need it, but fairly deep so stuff doesn't fall out. And so yeah, so I know exactly what I'm making. I just gotta sit down and make it. But this has to come first because this ended up on the floor. Some of this, not all of it. I just found some of it on the floor, and it's like, okay, this is too big. The pile is too big. I've got to figure out where to put this stuff. Is what I need, because every single shelf, like that's not scrap. That is there it is. That's my working fabric. This over here, this shelf here is fabric for the thing. The shelf in my bed, yeah, I've got it everywhere. Oh my God, I've got it everywhere. Anyway, now I am bitching. Okay, before I go this. I also have plans to do the same technique and make a couple of placemats. Or a table runner, because I never made a table runner for myself. So one of the reasons why I'm leaving this flexible and going over is so I can trim it back. Like I said, because I'm using all scrap for it. I'm not spending money on this. If you're spending money on this, then take the time to measure it out properly and make sure everything is lined up properly. But I'm not spending money on this. I can afford to be a little bit wasteful because I already have problems with finding enough things to do with this stuff anyway. So I'm doing these at about 7 inches. That way I can trim them out, square them up to 6 when I'm ready to make my quilt with them. And I got 12 feet to go. 12 feet to go. And I also, either I'll use the leftovers from this, or I'll use these shorter pieces as I, as I go. Because this one was too short. Then I'll use those pieces and just make one. I haven't decided how that's going to look yet. Because it's random. The whole purpose about this is that there's a randomness to it. So that's what we're going to be exploring. And because anything that gets you sewing gets you practicing. Anything that gets you practicing gets you better lines, better ironing, better folding, better connecting. So this is going to be a good practice project for me, for building up that, like I said, keeping all my stuff lined up so that it stays as straight as possible, things like that. It's going to be a good project for me, and I'm building it to be flexible enough that if it's like, oh, I screwed that up, now these have to be 5 inches, it's like, okay, it'll be fine, it'll work for me. So yeah, I'm really excited about this project. I'm not excited about sorting this basket of fabric, though. So I'm going to get going before the bitching gets out of hand. And I will see you guys in the next one. And don't forget, like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment, all that happy horse shit, because I'm taking over the world one subscription at a time, and I need your help. I got to come up with a better line now because I can't say it right anymore. Anyway, have a great day, guys. Bye.